Hello, everyone in Franchise Canada land. Whether you're already part of the franchise community or thinking of joining, welcome back to today's episode of Franchise Canada Chats. Gary Prenoveau here. I'm the author of the award-winning book, The Unstoppable Franchisee, and president of FranNet of Southern Ontario. Today, we have a very special episode featuring the CFA's Franchisee of the Year Gold Award winners. The Franchisee of the Year award recognizing top performing franchisees who build strong connections with their communities. Today's guests are Alicia Baker of DermaEnvy Skincare and Candice Perrant of Molly Maid Canada. Alicia started as the sole employee of DermaEnvy's Halifax location before opening her own location in St. John's at just 21 years old. Wow, I love working with young entrepreneurs and interviewing them. This year, she won the Gold Franchisee of the Year award in the bricks and mortar category, where many join with years of working experience and working capital. Alicia's previous part-time employment provided the pipeline to small business ownership. So we're definitely excited to hear Alicia's perspectives. Candice returns to Franchise Canada Chats as the gold winner franchisee of the year in the home and mobile based category. We interviewed Candice last year, so she's back. After taking over the Windsor MOLLY MAID franchise in January of 2022, she grew the revenue by 47%. And then the next year, she continued that growth, exceeding the company averages in both years. So we're going to discuss their experiences in the franchise industry, how they found their success, and most importantly, what advice they can provide to you as potential emerging franchisees so that you too can go on to be award-winning franchisees and achieve and overachieve your financial and life goals. So Alicia and Candice, welcome to today's episode.
Hi, Gary. Hi, Alicia.
So this is going to be interesting because we're going to hear two perspectives. So what I'll do, I'll put the question, then I'll go to one and we'll go to the other to avoid any crosstalk or anything. So the first question is, tell us about your franchise concept and the background or experience. And so that'll be a quick description of the brand that you bought the franchise in. And then if you could just expand a little bit on that and what brought you to franchising in general, and how that drew into this brand. So Alicia, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so our franchise concept is that we are a medical spa. So for anyone who's not familiar with that, it's kind of all of your spa services, like day spa services, but then with more advanced treatments as well, like laser hair removal, chemical peels, things like that. And we're also a micro clinic, we like to call ourselves. So each of our locations only typically has 1 to 3 employees. So that way you really get to build up a nice relationship with who your service provider is, and gain trust with them and yeah, just kind of get to know them for some services that are a bit more intimate. What drew me to franchising is probably just that it's a tested and proven structure. Somebody else has kind of paved the way for you, with budgeting and business plans, sales goals, and especially support.
Okay, and the what drew you to this brand in particular?
So I started as an hourly employee with the company. So it was really the me working in the industry and knowing that I would like to kind of work my way up the ladder. And thankfully, I just had the opportunity to do that fairly shortly into my career.
How long were you in that employee role before you decided, gee, I want to be the owner here?
Less than 2 years.
Okay, okay, and it was how quickly after you decided that did you make that transition?
Oh my goodness, it moved very quickly. So my boss at the time, who's now my franchisor, I spoke to him, I think, in September, and by the next April, we had our opening day.
So you were like one of the foundation franchisees. So it's going to be really interesting as this brand grows across Canada, how your insights, your experiences in the early days have some influence on it. We'll come back to that later on. I'll ask a few more questions about that initial experience, but let's go to Candice first. So Candice, how about yourself?
So Molly Maid Canada is a residential and commercial cleaning company. We've been around since the late 1970s, in Windsor too, since probably that time ago. I am from Windsor, and the franchise that I own is in Windsor, Ontario. And I was drawn to franchising. Honestly, it was a fluke. I'm not going to lie. I was a teacher for almost 20 years. I had moved around, and we were coming back from the GTA to home, which is Windsor. And I tried supply teaching. When you're a teacher and you move boards, you have to start at the bottom. So I tried starting at the bottom after almost 20 years of teaching. You start over again, and I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't enjoying getting called at 6 in the morning or 10 p.m. And I thought, I have to have another job. So I started looking for another job. And I thought, who am I kidding? I can't work for somebody. I'm just going to boss everyone around. I'm a leader. So I needed, felt I needed something where I could lead, whether it was a classroom or something else. So Molly Maid Windsor was for sale, and I came across it, and I happened to know indirectly the owner at the time, and reached out and started doing a lot of research and started talking to a lot of people up at head office, and thought, I could do this. Like, I could do this. So I gathered all the info, pitched it to my partner, and asked him to invest in me. And he did, and we did, and we bought the franchise. And it's been
It's
great.
well, it's been great. I remember our discussion last year, seeing you earlier this year at one of the events, and how much you've just really run with this system and done so much better than what you even thought. So
Yeah.
we'll look forward to getting into some of that. One of the things I love what you just said, and this is kind of for our listeners who are thinking about self-employment. Candice, with you as a teacher, you said you had a lot of skills, and it's the transferable skills
Yeah.
that is really where the path to success in franchise ownership is where you can take those skills and apply it in a different industry. I've worked with a lot of teachers over the years, and I chuckle when you say that the 6 a.m. call or the 10 p.m. call. People think teachers are, the short hour days, right? No, it's a lot more than that. So, but there are a lot of transferable skills that people, as you're listening, think about what you're good at and like to do, because finding a business where that requires is one of the joys of franchising when you get it right. And you'll hear some of that today. Okay, so Alicia, back to you. What makes DermaEnvy a standout from the crowd, if you will, a standout brand?
What I think makes us stand out is, again, I think a lot of it has to do with our micro clinic, what we like to call, concept of that each time you come in, you're seeing the same service provider, you really get to know them, you build a trust in them, as well as, of course, being a franchise and having that backing of essentially a national brand. People are a little bit more willing to trust. And in this economic climate, I mean, we all are wary on where we're spending our money. So having that, again, backing of a national brand, it does definitely put a little bit more trust for customers to come as well.
Okay, and you mentioned in your first response that it's a small staff, 1 to 3 employees, and that a lot of franchises have 5, 10, or even many more employees. So, is that along the lines of the challenges you faced earlier on, finding early in your launch of your franchise, finding the right talent, or were there other different challenges that you faced?
I would say in the beginning, I started just working on my own. So I was about a year into my business before I hired my first employee. So in the beginning, I would say the biggest challenge was feeling overwhelmed and feeling like I don't know what I'm doing. How am I going to do this? I don't have a business background. My background is in being an esthetician, a medical esthetician. So yeah, financially not knowing if I was going to be able to kind of, make the sales that I needed to. Um, Yeah, I would say just not trusting myself, not believing in myself has definitely been my biggest challenge. Even though I've proved myself right time and time again, I think I need to just trust myself a little bit more.
Well, so it's interesting because that's one of the biggest challenges new entrepreneurs have, new franchisees have, is you're going from being really good at what you did before buying a franchise, and now you're going into the beginner state, the novice state, having to figure out how to do something all over and completely new again. So
Yeah.
there is a lot of second guessing and what, oh my gosh, what did I do? That first year is that sacrifice year when you're still learning. How did you overcome some of those challenges?
I've just had great support. So, like I said, my boss turned franchisor has actually become a really good friend of mine as well. So I know that I can talk to him about business, and I can also talk to him about personal things. And I think that is a really lovely blend. He is there to answer any question, no matter what time of day. I'm sure when he watches this, he'll chuckle because he knows he will send an email at 4 a.m. Or between the two of us, a text message. So really the support that I've had and him and the rest of the team rallying behind me has been what helped push me through.
Okay. What's one big challenge, the hardest challenge that you faced that you had to deal with that you think a lot of other business owners, franchisees would face in their first year?
Hmm.
Unscripted question.
And I've got my script here, so I'm like, where do I look? Um, Biggest challenge. I think just going for it. You know what I mean? Just kind of heading headfirst into the unknown. It's scary. I think the biggest challenge is not knowing what is ahead of you. I think when you work kind of a traditional job underneath somebody, you kind of know what you're going to go to work and what your tasks are going to be that day. But in opening a business and in the early stages of franchising, you just know you're going to work, but you don't know what you're going to do.
So the importance of resilience and tenacity.
Absolutely.
And I think what you've described as well is self-confidence. While you were second guessing yourself with the support, it sounds like you found how to exert and apply that self-confidence and really make things work for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Candice, again, back to you. What makes Molly Maid a standout brand? And so expand on that, please, and
Well,
your
I think
challenges.
so. Molly Maid is a standout brand because of all the work that I feel our support office has done to be a brand. We're very recognizable from our deckled vehicles to our uniforms. We wear pink polo shirts and nice blue pants, and all of our products are labeled Molly Maid and the things we bring in. So I think our marketing is really done exceptionally well, and that helps us have eyes on us. As far as Molly Maid Windsor, what I think makes us stand out is we are a premium service. I spend a lot of time front end loading all of the employees that we have on staff from interviews to orientation to training. We have a very great training program and quality control follow-ups. Because we run that type of company, we do great work. And so it is the employees in Windsor, Molly Maid Windsor, that really have us standing out.
One of my firm beliefs is speed of the leader, speed of the pack. You set the tone and the pace and the culture. So for people listening and they're thinking about this journey, what kind of pace are you going to set and create for your team? The challenge question, Candice, I'm going to change it a little bit for you because you went from taking over being a franchisee of the year, and now you're scaling even more. So
Mhm.
what I'd like to get a sense of for you, for our listeners, is what is the challenges you face to scale up to that next level over this last 12 months?
When to do it, actually, and how to do it. It's, you know, I have 20 employees now. I'm up to 6 routes, which are, 2 employees working each route. I do have a lot of part-time employees I think that helped scale it because I have my main full-time employees, and then the part-time employees, I could utilize them on numerous uh, different routes. But then when I am growing, I have extra, well, not extra, but my part-time employees, I can offer them now maybe more shifts. So it's about how and when you're going to grow. I think that would be the challenge, because you don't want to, take on more employees when you don't have the clients, but you can't take on more clients if you don't have the employees. So it's finding that secret sauce right there. And I don't know if there's any one right way to do it. I think you just have to be transparent with your employees, letting them know we're opening up another route. I don't have everyday work for you, but if you're willing to stick with me and Molly Maid Windsor, you will grow with us. Just if you want to take a chance, and that's what it is. And then making sure all of the employees are happy and following through with what I'm saying and being transparent and honest, because we know in the customer service industry, there's ups and downs. So I'm honest with them. We're a very busy week. You know what? It's not as busy this week. I think it's
Well,
important to share
and,
that with.
and we talked at the advocacy event in June about how you lead and the level of relationship you build with your employees. So that trust is a critical component. I want to address what I'll describe as the utilization rate, when to grow, right? Adding customers, adding staff. It's hard to add customers if you don't have the right infrastructure, the right staff. You add staff and then they aren't get serviced properly, they're going to have a lower experience and you might lose them. So
Mhm.
it's what's the right utilization rate of the employee, and how much do you keep in reserve, or sometimes they might be 80% utilized and you're overpaying them 20%, but then you can grow. If it's a full-time employee, part-time, it's a lot easier.
Mhm.
That's one of the things that people have to figure out. Okay, let's come back, Alicia, to you. How would you describe your experience as a franchisee? What do you enjoy most about it? What are the parts that maybe not so much? But just share your experience, please.
Yeah, if I were to describe it in one word, I can't lie, I would have to just say it's been great. Um, I would say I've been very fortunate to not experience as many downs as seems to be, kind of the typical first few years of business. Going back especially to the pandemic, I was working on opening my franchise at the end of 2020 and we opened in 2021. And this was at a time when a lot of, non-essential businesses weren't able to be open. So as we were in the clinic every day, painting the walls and building furniture and bringing in equipment and products and things like that, we weren't allowed to open yet. And once all these kinds of businesses, personal care businesses, were able to reopen, we were ready to open. And extremely thankfully, we didn't have to close again. But that's a huge challenge that a lot of businesses in every industry had to face. Um, Customers love being able to support a national brand, and I mentioned that already once before. But they're also supporting local at the same time, and I think that's a really beautiful thing about franchising is that you can trust the company that you are giving your hard-earned money to, and you're not just supporting a corporation, you're also supporting a small business owner who is buying their first home or putting their child through school or things like that. So it's nice to see kind of both sides of that. I think that's all I got for the moment. I kind of want
Well,
to.
so I want to drill into that a little bit. Which is the community engagement. You talk about the national component, but you're that local player in the community.
Mhm.
How deeply do you get involved, like in the community fabric, if you will, giving back to the community or participating in it?
So I have done some donations to different organizations, particularly girls sports teams. I really like to support. I have supported, Easter seals as well with some fundraisers that we've done. Pretty well anyone who comes into my inbox asking for a donation, I'm happy to give. And that's something that I would definitely like to expand on in the coming years is being more generous and more involved in my community and getting to know my local community and other business people a little bit better.
Okay, and Candice, I'll get your perspective on how you engage and participate in the community as well, and then I'll ask the other questions. But I think this is a really important part for our listeners that often don't consider the role that community engagement has.
Community engagement actually is a really important part of our Molly Maid Windsor platform. Myself and our team, we do a lot for our community. It's something that is important to me to be able to give back. I am lucky to be able to. Not only do I give back financially, but I give back a lot with my time. So we'll do a group Earth Day cleanup for the Walkerville community in Windsor that my office is located in. So we partner up with the Walkerville BIA, and Molly Maid will lead that. And we provide the garbage bags. We have our employees and their families come out. I'm also just finishing my 2-year reign as Women United co-chair. I only get to do it for 2 years, but I would have done it for longer. And that's part of United Way, which we're all familiar with the United Way. The Women United group, we do a lot of work with kids with a program called On Track to Success. These are high school students. We'll spend time raising funds and awareness to help kids who might need that extra help to get through high school, whether it could be some type of financial assistance, anywhere from providing them with bus passes to helping them with tutoring. We do mock interviews with them. We'll do during graduation prom time, say yes to the dress, partnering up with another organization here in Windsor. I do a lot and I'm really passionate about it. And our current project is we're going to be working with our women's shelter. They are in desperate need of PJs for their women and children. So we're going to do a PJ drive for the holidays, but we will be getting our clients involved and asking them and telling them what we're doing. And if they would like to donate some PJs, they can. So we really like to get everyone involved, clients, my staff, myself, to be part of our community.
And I think that's part of the culture that you created with your team to be able to get the staff and families involved. But for the message for the listeners, what you just heard is a couple of examples of engaging the community. And it doesn't have to be big things or expensive things. Think of it this way. If you're going to be a business owner, the community is part of the one of the paths to your relationships that customers are going to find you and engage with you. So you can't go out and just show up and join associations or join groups if you're not going to contribute back. I call it deposits to the community bank that you do first, and then you start making withdrawals through the customers starting to serve you. So there is a geographic community, there is a business community, which is other business companies who serve the same customers. Sometimes there's a faith community or an ethnic community or whichever. All of those are different fields to be mined, if you will, but you can't just go in and take from them. You have to give first. And through that giving, you get a lot of visibility and permanence in that marketplace.
And if I could just add something to this. So my first year of being a franchise owner, so back would be 2023, and I wanted 2022. Oh my goodness. And I wanted to, do something to give back to the community because the clients are so good to us, right? Because of them, we get to go out, we get to create joy and comfort where people live, work, and play. I wanted to do something. So our downtown mission here in Windsor desperately needs meals for our downtown community, for our community. And I had made a donation. in the name of my clients. And I had sent out an email letter just letting them know, thanking them. It was around Thanksgiving, thanking them. And because of them, I'm able to pay it forward. I did not expect it, but the amount of emails I got back from clients thanking Molly Maid and saying we're so proud to use an organization or use a company that would do something like this. I wasn't expecting it. I shared it with our staff who also wasn't expecting it. And it's become something we annually do. It's coming up. We're doing it again. So you just don't expect these things. You do it because you do it. But yeah.
Exactly. You know, and so in the realm of marketing, thinking in terms of the role of the owner to market and create awareness for their business, we're dealing with the most educated consumer in human history. We know what we want, where we want it, how much to pay for it, what experience level, all those things. And the average Canadian engages with a brand 10 to 12 times before they ever talk to a human. So how do you separate yourself from the noise? Not only is it what the right message is, it's what being memorable is. And people remember more about the experience that you give them, and then that has more permanence. So both of you shared examples of being memorable. So just it's interesting. I want listeners to think about how can I be memorable by giving to the community. It's just one of the pillars of your success. Okay, so the other parts of the question, Candice, were how would you describe your experience as a franchisee now that you're into that next phase of scaling up and achieving higher level of success?
I am so excited. That's how I feel. Every time something happens, something happens every day, and it's unexpected. You cannot plan what is going to happen in your business. Just one morning you wake up, and next thing you're getting a call, and it opens 10 other doors, and you're just keep adding on to your business and adding some more, and getting your team involved. And I'm very excited about my experience. It's been positive. Yes, there's ups and downs, but that's with any job, any business. That goes without saying. It's just how you handle it. But I handle it with a smile, and we'll just figure it out as we go along. I'm very proud also. I think that's a big part of this, and all of our employees are proud too. We are so proud about even winning the award. It just kind of even put more pep in our step to be able to go into homes and they're going, guess what? We won an award. So it's been really exciting off of that. There's still recognition going on, such as this podcast, and I share all the recognition with them. I say it, and I'm going to say it here again. Without them, there isn't a me. We are a team, and they are so important.
And definitely a servant leader, the way from what I've come to know you in our previous discussion. So that's folks, for when I talk about servant leader, what I see in great franchisees, and I did a lot of research on this for my book. Servant leaders treat their employees as their most important repeat customer, more so than their biggest paying customers. It's just, Candice just said it differently, is like there wouldn't be a successful business without her leading the team that she does. So I'm going to stay with you for a minute, Candice, on this next question. How does winning Franchisee of the Year honors the second time, how is that evolving or changing your experience?
Well, these are again unexpected things. I didn't expect to win this award. I remember when support office had asked if they could nominate me. I was like, yeah, okay, sure. Didn't think too much about it because I was just brand new still at this and thought, well, my goodness, there's so many amazing people out there. Didn't think more of it, just they're nominating me. And then when I was told I was one of the finalists, I was like, okay, that's amazing. I can't believe it. But then to win that, I am never usually speechless, and I think you could tell, but I really was. speechless. I just felt like this is a whirlwind. I can't believe that this is happening. And, you know, it, it just makes me want to be better and learn more and see how I could take it up even to another level. Like Alicia mentioned, she doesn't have a business background, nor do I. I was a teacher for 20 years. So after this win, I decided I need to start going back to school to learn about business. And so that's what I did. I took a 13-week class to learn more, to see how I could grow the business even more. And since taking that class, I have kicked up the business notch or two or three since learning some more. So it's really just motivated me to be better, do better, learn more, and see what else I could do with this franchise.
I don't think the word comfort zone exists for you. You said you achieve the goals, okay, reflect, learn, rest, celebrate, but then set new goals by the sounds of things. So constantly redefining your comfort zone. And as you set new goals, you're also building, where do I get the skills and the learning to be able to perform at that level?
Yeah.
So, okay, Alicia, yourself, how has winning franchisee of the year honors impacted you and helped you change your experience and evolve your business?
Well, first of all, I want to say I felt, in the scenario of winning, very, very similar to Candice in that one. I couldn't believe I was even nominated. I was like, I'm just little nobody. I don't win things on pure luck, let alone, things that are actually based in merit. And so then to win. Again, I'm very similar. It's not many times I'm speechless, but I truly was. I filmed a video of my reaction, just of my face, and it was just pure, oh my goodness. I didn't, I couldn't believe it. I still stumble on my words when I try to explain the feeling. Um, I think coming out of the award and winning that, the exposure that that's given me, and DermaEnvy, our brand as a whole has been amazing. I have been asked by local media outlets to do newspaper interviews, and now this interview today, have been amazing. So really spreading my business's name and my name personally as a young entrepreneur has definitely helped me out and pushed my business further. I've had people phone or people come in person and say, "Oh, you won that award," or "I saw you in the newspaper," which, again, all stemmed from winning the award. As well as I've got to connect with a lot of people who I know I certainly can learn from, like, the two of you. So I've really appreciated getting to connect and network a little bit more with other people and learn a bit more about their experience in business and in franchising, and take that myself and hopefully help drive myself further with that knowledge.
I find it fascinating that you both have that, who, me, like the humility and that's a great trait, by the way. But I do want to know, because it's a little different. You're saying, why me? I'm surprised I got it. But as you look backwards, a question for both of you, staying with Alicia to start, is why do you feel you actually have this success? Like when you look back, okay, they nominated you and you won. Why?
I think the first thing I would say is luck. I feel like I've been dealt a lot of lucky cards in business. I would never be able to say that I did this completely on my own. I've had a million people behind me and around me supporting me. So just having supporters and having people to push you forward. And
But Alicia, it's got to be your hard work and drive, though, too, right? Like,
yeah.
we're surrounded by great people for sure. And we're lucky and blessed like that. But it's the hard work. And and I know we're hustlers. We
Yeah.
wouldn't be where we're at if we weren't always thinking 10 steps ahead about how can we do this or how can we do that. And I think, that contributes to the growth that we're having, right? That's the second part of it, for sure. And for me, I think one of the reasons why eyes were on Molly Maid Windsor, obviously support office, they're great, and they highlighted Windsor so well and wrote such a beautiful, piece as to why Molly Maid Windsor should be, considered for this award. But I think one of the big criteria was your contribution to your community. And I feel that was one of the reasons that Windsor won, because of that piece. Not only did we show financial growth, which was one of the criteria, but the other one was that we were giving back and working within our community. So I think those two things for Molly Maid Windsor for sure helped, reasons why we won. But the reason we got there was because, yes, there is that luck and that being blessed, but also the hard work. I work hard. I work hard.
Well, I come back to some of the patterns that I see, and I get to work with and interview a lot of top performers. So some of the traits that I'm hearing both of you share. Let's talk about luck first. What is luck? Luck is when timing meets preparation. And so those opportunities don't come if you haven't learned the skill set and if you don't have the presence to be able to take advantage of them. So when you say working hard, Candice, yes, you work hard, but you're also both learning and growing. So you're moving from working hard to working smart.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And so this is where, and as I said before, there's no comfort zone. As you learn one thing and start to get to proficiency to it, how do I learn the next thing? Whereas average performer, franchisees, or entrepreneurs in general, they get to a certain level and they just coast there and they don't learn and they don't grow. So this is where I think there's a huge trait for you both as top franchisees. And again, congratulations on that. It's part of what you both bring to the table. So let's, as we start to wind down this episode, there's a couple of other things I'm curious about. So Alicia, what's next for the franchise? What are you looking at? What are you working on? Any new developments as you look to this coming year?
Yeah, of course. The top of my list at the moment is paying off my business loan, which when I do so, I'll be very, very proud to say, because that's just kind of another thing off the list. When you for anyone who has a business loan, typically, whoever the lender is, they set out a timeline of, if you follow this payment schedule, this is how long it will take you to pay off your loan. And I'm about 6 years ahead of that at the moment. So
Wow,
Wow.
way to go.
out of the way, and I'm hoping that'll be in the next few months. I will certainly give myself a nice pat on the back. As well as being in the beauty industry, as I think everyone, even those who aren't involved in it, know that it's constantly evolving and changing, and there's always a new kind of thing that people want or people want to try. So we definitely have some new equipment working its way down the pipeline. As well as this is maybe just a little bit further out as a goal, but definitely within the next couple of years, I'd like to expand to more locations.
Okay, thank you. And Candice, same question.
Well, I will continue to grow. So since we had last spoke, I believe I was at 4 routes the last time we spoke, and then I had a 5th route, then a 6th route, and I'm waiting for my 7th car to put a 7th route out there. So that is the number one goal. So continuing to meet clients and build the company this way.
So for our listeners, quick observation. Think about how quickly both of our guests answered that question, how much clarity they have. And this is, when you're going to be in business, the more clear you are on your purpose, on your and your goals, and the track to achieving the goals, the law of attraction kicks in and some other things. So the support to be able to rally. So if you're going to go into business, make sure you get some clear goals and you work with your franchisor and field coach, whoever's supporting you, to help you clarify that, but also understand the work it takes to achieve the goals and get ready for that work. Okay, so second last question. Stay with you, Candice. What advice would you give others considering the franchise or franchise ownership in general?
I think research. I think it's so important to research. So find your passion, but then once you find your passion, research different uh, areas or different companies or different franchises that you might be interested in. I think it's important to talk to people throughout the support office or head office or whatever it's called for other places. But also, I was able to connect with other franchisees, Molly Maid franchisees, and I think that was important, talking to them. So for me, it was all about the research, knowing what I was going to get into and understanding the concept and believing in it and knowing that this does work if you're willing to work at it. I think that's really important. I think you um, can't go in saying, "Well, I'm going to get this franchise, and I don't really have to do too much." People will come to me, and that's not how it goes. You do have to hustle. You do have to work. I love that you said working smarter, not harder. That was a big piece for me this year, Gary, was to figure out how to do that. And that's what led me to take a course, which has led me to make some significant changes in how I run the franchise here in Windsor, which has allowed me to grow. So I think that's important. And then goal setting. You have to set the goals. So once you decide on the franchise and it gets going, you've got to have clear goals and go for them. I think it's important. And then to always work with your support office. They're there to help you. Let them help you. Ask all the questions. Call other franchisees. Ask all of them questions too. Keep learning. That is it. Just keep learning.
Music to my ears in terms of the lifelong learning that does require. Now, you said one thing I want to call out, which is you got to put in the work, right? Working hard. One of my favorite sayings: the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary.
Yeah.
Our youngest generation these days goes, "What's a dictionary?" I'll just Google it. Right? Alicia, how about yourself? What advice would you give others considering DermaEnvy or franchise ownership in general?
I think the advice that I would give would be go for it. Take the risk. There's never going to be a perfect time or a perfect chance or a perfect opportunity, so to speak, coming around. If you don't try, you can't succeed, really. And the thing that I think is really what makes franchising stand out is that there's always someone who wants to help you. There's always someone who will answer your questions. So, also kind of tying in with what Candice said, doing your research, phoning other franchisees, speaking with and asking questions to anyone. Knowledge is power, of course.
I would agree with all that. I'm just going to put a little bit of caution in. You both are with a culture where there's very supportive and very encouraging. So when you say there's always somebody to talk to, I want people who are, and you say go for it, Alicia. I think it's important after the research that Candice just talked about. And part of the research is what type of culture do you thrive in? Some people don't want as much support. Some people want to be left alone a little bit more. So it's really important to understand what are the financial and lifestyle goals you want to achieve through business ownership. What is the skills that you bring that it takes to run the business? Coming back, Candice, to what you said about passion. Passion has to be for the work it takes to run the business. You have to believe in the value of the service. You have to love the work that you're going to do as an owner, which often isn't the service. So it's organizing and leading and all those other things that are part of the running a business. So folks who are listening, what do you bring to the table? What are your most impactful skills that what I call the candy of work? Geez, Gary, if I got to do blank in my new business, that type of work, that would be awesome. But you also want to look at what is the work that you dislike doing, that, ooh, yuck, if I had to do that, if the stuff you dislike doing is a critical role, that's a high risk scenario. So it's all those things, doing the research first. Okay, last question before we sign off. Staying with you, Alicia, how do you see the future of the brand in your franchise? So like it's 2, 3, 5 years out, what do you envision the franchisor and the franchise system to look like?
I think we are going up and up. I don't know another way to kind of describe it or explain it. I mean, I know my personal finances with my franchise. I also have had a glimpse into the overall performance of the entire franchise itself, and I can see things are continuing to increase, as well as we're adapting to, challenges that we're facing. I think a lot of things in business are trial and error, especially with something, let's say, like marketing. You run a promotion this month, you think it's going to be fantastic, and it kind of flops. It doesn't do that great. Or, again, like you're running an ad for something, or you're advertising through a newspaper or on the radio, and you think that this for sure is going to work for us. And sometimes it just doesn't, and that's okay. But what's the most important is taking from that experience and learning, and how can we redirect this in another direction, and take it forward with what we just learned.
So some of the consistent messaging, listeners, you're hearing over and over again today: do something, whether it's a success or not so much of a success, reflect on it, learn from it, and then apply the learnings and improve the situation. And one of the things, going back to that 10 to 12 engagements with a brand, that marketing piece, you might have 2 or 3 ads that don't work very well. And then all of a sudden, the next one really works, and you don't know if it was the one that works or the accumulation of the several. But you still got to get out there and be visible for the customer, right? The potential customer. Candice, same question to you. What do you see the vision as
So I
in
feel
future?
that Molly Maid, Canada, we've been around for so long. We're not going anywhere. We're the #1 cleaning service in Canada. It's our branding, that marketing piece. Everywhere you go, you see one of the little cars out and about. So I still see that happening. I don't think it's going to change. Looking at our data every year across country, we are growing, not just in Windsor, but all throughout Canada. There is that upward swing in growth. That's going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to happen in Windsor. I am going to, continue to make a difference in our community by giving back. And, Molly Maid's purpose is to create joy and comfort where people live, work, and play. And that is what will continue to happen.
Well, I want to thank both of you for sharing your insights and experiences and wisdom today. Hopefully, listeners, you've got some great nuggets out of this discussion. Thank you again. Congratulations again. And folks, that's a wrap for this episode of Franchise Canada Chats.